You're listening to the Learn Hypnosis podcast with Jason Linett and Richard Nongard. Build the confidence you need to work professionally as a hypnotist. Whether you're new to hypnosis or looking to sharpen your skills, join us live in Las Vegas in August of 2020. Learn more now at vegashypnosistraining.com. Here they are, Jason and Richard.
All right, welcome. It's Jason Linett here, and this is the Learn Hypnosis podcast, episode number 1. And I'm joined here by my co-host, Richard Nongard. Richard, how are you?
I'm awesome, and I'm really excited to actually share with all of our listeners, because when I started doing hypnosis, there was no podcast. There was nobody out there to actually help me figure out how to be a hypnotist. So hopefully you and I can both share some things that shorten the learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. And the shape of this is that over the next several weeks and months, we're going to be releasing episodes on a weekly basis, coming out to you on every Tuesday. And the whole idea behind this is that as I've taught classes over the years, as you've taught classes, we tend to get some of the same questions, and using this as an opportunity to share a lot of the insights in terms of what it actually takes to begin to launch a career in this profession as a hypnotist. So let's kind of kick off, I think, with episode number 1, with probably the most obvious question of all. How exactly does someone become a hypnotist? So in the shape of where we're going to be going over the next several months, we'll be going into a deeper dive in terms of, does insurance cover hypnosis? Can you really make a living as a hypnotist? And as we go deeper into this conversation, talking about, what is evidence-based hypnosis, and having a lot of, big names in the profession come on and have this dialogue with us too. So some of these things will give a little bit more of an overview in this week's episode. But Richard, I'll toss it over to you for a moment. How do we begin that dialogue of exactly how does someone become a hypnotist? What usually sparks that curiosity, would you say?
Usually people have found that hypnosis is beneficial to them in one way or another. They either saw a hypnotist himself and found profound results with pain control, or stopped smoking, or lost weight, or whatever else they used to benefit from hypnosis. And that sort of sparked their own curiosity. They think, I could do this. I could passionately share with other people. Sometimes people see a stage hypnosis show and they're just mesmerized by the power of hypnotic phenomena. And they think if we didn't have silly games and actually focus this, we could probably really impact some lives in some positive ways. Or other people have read self-hypnosis books or other books that teach methods of auto-suggestion or positive affirmation and applied that in their own life. And so they've come to the conclusion that, that what they've been doing before to earn a living hasn't necessarily provided the same level of fulfillment that ideally becoming a hypnotist could provide. So I think people get into it for a variety of different reasons, but ultimately most people decide to become a hypnotist because they want to help other people and they want to share the gift of hypnosis.
And that brings up something that I found to be really interesting, which is that as we unpack so much of this work of personal change and what has to happen in the hypnotic process, it's where, as a reference to this, I've had teachers go through my classes. I've had nurses. I've had everything from IT professionals to a student in a recent class was a former barber. And this dialogue that as we start to learn the structure of the mind and how it is we get into that hypnotic state and how it is we then utilize that to produce personal change. So often the feedback is, oh, wow, I was already doing this in some way, but now I can do it on purpose. So we've got that curiosity now satisfied, and now the person begins to do their research. I'd share some of the criteria that one should be looking at in order to choose a specific training event. Is something that I have to tell you, Richard, I've been using part of your language over the years, which is that you want to make sure you're learning from somebody who you could actually book a session with,
right?
That you're working with someone who's really there doing the work. It's where, in some of my stuff, I use the branding of a hypnotic worker, someone who's not just teaching it for the sake of teaching it and filling classes, but someone who's really there, I'll playfully use the phrase, in the trenches and doing the work, refining what they're doing, getting that continuous feedback loop This way, you're not learning the way that the work was done 40 years ago. You're learning exactly what they're doing right now.
And I've been doing hypnosis for more than 30 years. And you can actually book an appointment with me. Now, over the 30 years, I've vacillated between seeing 8 to 10 clients a day, 4 or 5 days a week for years on end, and seeing less clients and balancing that with travel and work and some other things. But really, that's the great thing about hypnosis, is that we have the opportunity as self-employed folks to structure our life any way we want to. And I think that's one of the things that's really appealing about becoming a hypnotist. But at the current time, you can still make an appointment with me. My office, Hypnosis Nevada LLC, you can call up and you can schedule a stop smoking or a pre-surgical preparation or a weight loss session. And I do the work of hypnosis day in and day out, and I have been for over 30 years. I think there's a huge difference between going to a training class where people are teaching theory, but they're not actually applying it in the office with clients sitting right in front of them on a weekly basis. You and I are both doing that and have been for years.
Right. The same as I'm here in Springfield, Virginia at my business, which is called Virginia Hypnosis. So you're noticing a trend here of geographically specifically named businesses. But again, you're right, to learn exactly what's working right now. So we've got the criteria of the curiosity, and now we've established making sure the person that we're learning from is actually skilled at the work that they do. What other criteria would you say is necessary in making that decision?
I think one of the things that we want to look for when we're becoming a hypnotist is who's teaching from a base of techniques that are well grounded in the research. Later on in one of the other podcasts, we're going to talk about evidence-based approaches. But I don't teach any proprietary systems. In other words, there are 12,000 peer-reviewed journal articles that use the word hypnosis and demonstrate the efficacy of hypnosis. Well, those journal articles also share with us what methods were used. And when I do a hypnosis training, I know when you do a hypnosis training, we're using approaches that, yes, come from our tradition of professional hypnosis, but also from the base of research. The methods that I'm teaching are not the supersonic Richard double dipper super looper technique that only I can teach. I'm actually teaching.
Hang on, I'm buying the website for that, by the way, filing the trademark, but
it's a long name. But I'm teaching the techniques that actually produce results. And the good news is those are replicatable. So I can teach them to you, Jason, or you can teach them to your students. And then those students can replicate the same results that we see in the journal articles because they're not proprietary, unique techniques. Hypnosis isn't difficult, but it does take practice, and it does take learning, and it does take understanding in order to do it correctly.
It's where you mentioned the 12,000 peer-reviewed studies, and this reminds a quick anecdote of someone who I was on the phone with signing up for an event like the one that you and I've got coming up in August of 2020 in Las Vegas. Again, all the details are online at vegashypnosistraining.com. I'm on the phone with her, and the comment she makes is, I'm really curious about this stuff, but how do I know it actually works? And it's the same advice I'll say to the listeners out there. Okay, open up your computer and look up scholar.google.com. Now just type in the word hypnosis. And she did that in several, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of articles popped up. And then I asked her, what is it you might be interested in helping people to resolve? And she goes, stress. Okay, type in hypnosis and stress. And here was this amazing bank of research. And many of them, as you've commented over the years, as you read these studies, for us inside the community, we can read them and see, oh, they were using this method or they were using that method. And what was previously a curiosity of, does this actually work? Suddenly now in front of her was all of that information. And she goes, okay, I'll sign up for this thing.
Sure. And, it's interesting you talk about signing up for something. Back when I learned hypnosis 30 plus years ago, there weren't really certification courses. There weren't videos on YouTube. The internet hadn't been invented yet. And so largely I had to learn, but having a practicum supervisor actually in graduate school teach me his approach. But I learned a lot from books and other things. And I kind of wish that I had the opportunity to learn hypnosis now. And the reason why is because learning hypnosis now is so much easier. We have a wealth of resources, including excellent books that are out there, including one-on-one mentorship. And you and I both provide that mentorship to people who come to our office for individual and personal training. But we also have certification courses now that can guide a person from start to finish in the methods that actually work. In other words, we can cut the learning curve. I had to learn by trial and error. And by taking a 100+ hour training program, people can gain the skills they need to actually begin helping people apply hypnosis in a meaningful way. Now, nobody who takes a hypnosis certification class ends up having every skill they would need to solve every problem that could possibly present when the class is over. But everybody has the ability to use the strategies of hypnosis that we teach people to help people step into lasting change, whether that's in their habits, whether that's in their attitudes, or whether that's in their health. And certification classes that you and I offer or that other people offer are really a great vehicle for becoming a hypnotist.
Which you just used the magic C word, which we should now take a step back and start to explain what it actually is to have certification, which as a preview of this, in a later episode, we'll do a whole unraveling of the details about legislation and laws, which as a preview, basically in most major countries such as the USA and Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, it's all organized by private organizations. So it's by getting that training, you're learning the skill sets that are necessary. And part of the reason, Richard, that you and I are doing this event together in August of 2020 is that we both have a similar approach to hypnosis and training, even though we may do the work differently at times. That, as I define it, we both subscribe to the mindset of, rather than top-down education, which is, here's what you do for this issue, here's what you do for that issue, instead at times looking at the flexible nature of the work to go, here's a method for personal change. And now, how do we modify that technique to make it fit for this issue, for that issue, which in my experience, for those of you already with some hypnosis training behind you, is where we would find that block where someone's now playing the game of, I need a script for this, or what do you do for that? By learning hypnosis in that context, it builds that greater flexibility to actually customize to the clients that are in front of you. Though, what have you found to be beneficial of actually having that certification, Richard?
Well, certification is something that, again, is not required. People literally can fail their GED, get out of prison after reading a self-hypnosis book, and actually in every one of the 50 states in the USA actually put up a shingle tomorrow and call themselves a hypnotist. The reality is that person wouldn't be successful. They wouldn't get any business. The certification organizations that exist all serve a valuable purpose. They set a minimum standard of learning, a minimum level of competency, specific skills and strategies that are taught. And even though the profession might not be a licensed profession, no state, no province requires a license as a hypnotist. There's no such thing as a licensed hypnotist in the USA, in the UK, in Australia, in Canada. And as far as I'm aware of, not in any other country either. But what certification does is it lets a potential customer know, a potential client, know, hey, this person is affiliated with a group. This person has peer support. This person has taken a certain course of study in order to competently use the skills of professional hypnosis. And the ICBCH is, I think, the leader in the current era in hypnosis certification programs. We offer online, we offer a real life and most often hybrid programs where people can come and study in person and get that hands-on one-on-one practice, and then follow that up or precede that with valuable academic learning that teaches them the foundational skill sets to help people. I mean, ultimately, our goal is to help other people with something that's traditionally or usually been beneficial to us. And certification gives us a vehicle for doing that.
So to kind of unpack everything we've addressed so far, it begins with that curiosity, which let's call it out. You wouldn't be listening to this program if that curiosity wasn't there. Then from there, you want to make sure you've done that research to see that the people that you would be learning from are, as the saying goes, actually walking the walk and not just talking the talk. Then on top of that, making sure that you're learning a set of skills which are easily adaptable for a variety of issues and grounded in the research of what's actually working. And then it's not just about practicing inside of that bubble, having the support of an amazing community around you, which is the great thing about our upcoming event, the certification that's happening before the HypnoThoughts Live convention in Las Vegas, which all the details are online at vegashypnosistraining.com. It is a 100-hour course with 4 days of that live. So can you elaborate a bit on some of the additional stuff we're going to be sharing by way of video education attached to
so
this?
the 100-hour training begins with an online learning module. This is a module that has actually gone through 3 different incarnations. Back in the day, it was on DVD. But I'm actually a university professor who's taught both in-person courses as well as online courses. And I understand the methods of online education that are highly effective. And so that introductory course online helps a person prepare for the practice sessions by learning what they need to know in order to begin experientially practicing hypnosis and learning in person. So it's really a good setup. Then we spend 4 days in Las Vegas. These are 10-hour days. We're going to have a really short lunch. Fortunately, it's at the Orleans Hotel. So the good news is there's a whole lot of eating options right below us. So we can take a short lunch hour because we're really going to focus on those 4 days in as much hands-on practice as possible. You're going to come with a set of knowledges because you had the textbooks, because you had the audio MP3s that we provided, because you had the online learning video modules. But then the very first day, we're going to guide everybody through an experience in hypnosis. We're going to then follow that by breaking down each component of the hypnotic process so that everybody has the ability to practice it. And by the time you leave at the end of the 4 days, you will have hypnotized another person multiple times. Then when you return home, there's another online 40-hour learning module. And this learning module is comprehensive. It'll help you apply the basic strategies to a wide variety of different issues. And then it introduces other advanced ideas like Ericksonian hypnosis and hypnotic language patterns. So it's truly a comprehensive program, and it's a great learning experience. It's thousands of people have taken the ICBCH training programs, and I never hear any complaints. And the reason why is because, well, we've focused on creating a program that actually helps people to learn the material and then apply it with real life clients.
Which I love that feedback that at times it's one of the most hands-on experiences you can actually get, which, yes, there's a ton of great videos online. You've got yours, I've got mine. But it's that hands-on experience where that confidence truly excels in those skills. So we're coming up on time. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this week?
I think that between now and next week, when you look forward to and anticipate the next session, you'll take some time to join our group, ICBCHgroup.com. It redirects to our Facebook group. Ask any questions. Jason and I both answer questions in there every day, and find out from other people what their experience has been like taking one of the ICBCH professional hypnosis certification courses. And you'll find that it's a great way to really develop skills and to start directing your life in the direction that would be not only meaningful to you, but helpful to others as well.
This has been the Learn Hypnosis podcast. Get certified as a professional hypnotist now at vegashypnosistraining.com.